Home fires are the greatest threat American families face as far as disasters go. Annually, there are about 2,500 deaths and more than $7 billion in property damage. Here in the studio today, we have Erin Pagan, Director of Communications with the Red Cross in Mid-Florida region. So thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
So October is National Fire Safety Month. Tell us a little bit about what our folks at home can do to help fire safe their house.
It actually is National Fire Safety Month in October, and so it's a great time for people to really keep top of mind how important it is for them to be prepared for home fires. It is happening so often. We actually respond to an average of 3 a day.
Wow.
And so very few people actually know that. And so it's important for people to know that there are so many things that they can do ahead of time. So just some of the things we can go ahead and start talking about. First of all is cooking safety. Probably more than anything is we're seeing that fires are related to cooking. One of the other things that we're seeing is that people are having a problem with things being too close to a heat source. So we're noticing that, for instance, seniors who may use a portable heat source are keeping them too close to the curtains, too close to maybe a bed skirt, and so it's catching fire. So what we want to make sure that people are remembering is to keep things at least 3 feet away from a heat source. If they're using an older portable heat source that does not automatically shut itself off when it falls down, to be extremely cautious of that and to hopefully upgrade to one that does.
Right, they're so much cheaper now. There's so many different ends on the market now. So really you can, especially with winter coming up, the colder weather is going to start coming in, you probably even find some sales at a home improvement store as well.
And absolutely, and it's worth it. It is worth to spend the money or have a family member spend the money for you to upgrade to something that's more safe.
Christmas gift, huh?
Yes, exactly. Nothing is worth saving the money to sacrifice your safety. So absolutely, and we know that a lot of seniors tend to stay cold year round.
Right.
So we can go visit grandparents or great-grandparents who tend to always have that little heater nearby, even when it's hot outside.
Try that blanket instead of that heater.
Exactly, absolutely. The other thing that people are using is candles. Candles are very popular, they're always trending, and so candles tend to get knocked over. They get knocked over by a pet who jumps up on the counter, by a child who is inquisitive, and so candles really actually are very dangerous. And so we tend to, when we talk about being disaster ready, is to remind people not to have candles, not to use candles, to use flashlights and batteries.
And does that include whenever they're preparing for disaster? I know we push that whenever they're building their disaster kit, you know, preparing for hurricane season or just in all hazards disaster. Do we put candles in there? Do we not put candles in there? Because I mean, there's no electricity. What should we do to help give us light in the dark?
Absolutely no candles.
Okay.
We do not want to trade one disaster for another. So the last thing we want to do is have a major disaster, a tornado, a lightning storm or a hurricane, and now we're taking our first responders like our fire departments and putting them in harm's way to come out to a home fire. So certainly having those flashlights, one flashlight per person, having fresh batteries, having batteries in a water safe container is so important, and that's part of the disaster ready kit.
I mean, my mom loves those scented candles. So how can she get that, that same ambiance or feel without the candle?
There are so many of those scented oils now that you plug into the outlet that you can still get the aroma without having that open flame. So I highly recommend trying to go to that option. For people who still love the burning candle, if you're going to have that, just make sure children aren't around. Do it after the kids go to bed, and then make sure that it's completely, the candle's put out, and then that lovely decorative jar, the top is put back on. If you've got animals around, make sure that maybe they're put away or that they're not around it. Just make really good choices, because you never in any way, shape, or form want to have this one lovely decorative luxury turn into something that now is an absolute tragedy.
Let's go back to the cooking. You mentioned cooking first. What are some precautions that we can take? We have holidays coming up, obviously just after this October and into November and December. We have a lot of holidays, a lot of family time. What can we do, or what can we tell our residents to make sure that they're safety minded or fire safety minded in the kitchen?
Sure. The first is to make sure their cooking surfaces are always clean. Okay. I think a lot of times people are allowing grease to build up or other types of foods to build up on their cooking surfaces, and so a lot of times that will catch fire. The other is that people get busy and they don't realize how hot the surface got before they go to put some sort of cooking lubricant onto the surface, and so but then when they go back to put something on the pan, it is now super hot and now starts a fire. The other is that people don't know how to put grease fires out, and so it starts and the first thing they want to do is go put water on it. So I think that people are just sometimes uninformed. So I think the best thing we can do is give people education. So Fire Safety Month is a great month to do that. We're doing a lot of canvassing. I know the fire departments are out doing a ton of canvassing, and that's what it's about. Go tell people, how do you put a grease fire out? We want to smother it. We don't want to be out putting water on it.
Right.
And so letting people know, keep clean surfaces, don't let things get too hot. Never leave the stove unattended. If you need to go check on a child or help someone with a bath or anything like that, just turn the stove off and do it in 5 minutes when you get back. If you need to take a phone call or anything like that, again, we never want to sacrifice safety because you're very busy. So I think all about cooking is making sure that you've got your eye on it all the time and that things are not getting too hot.
With all this prevention, there's going to be some cases where the fire is going to happen. So how can we protect our family if a fire does occur?
Sure. Well, I think the main thing is getting back to kind of the pieces about having a smoke alarm. So much is about the statistic that 60% of the fatalities are in homes where they didn't have a smoke alarm or they had one that wasn't working properly. So we need to make sure that homes have working smoke alarms. That's first, because then they're going to be notified that a fire or smoke is in the home.
And they're so inexpensive now.
Absolutely.
And a lot of fire departments even give them away.
Yes.
Because we know that that is such a great statistic that your chances of survival are almost doubled by having a working smoke alarm in the home.
Absolutely. You have an opportunity to be notified and to be able to get out. So I think that's step number one. Step number two is to have an evacuation plan, to have a plan to escape and to get out. But you have to practice that with your family first. Children need to know what a smoke alarm sounds like so they know what that means to, oh my gosh, I need to get out. And they need to be able to know that I don't need to be running around the house looking for the cat, looking for the dog, trying to find my favorite toy or anything like that. We have a project called the Pillowcase Project, and part of it is fire safety and helping children understand that there's nothing else they need to do but get out and to follow that escape plan, and that we can always replace, toys and things like that, but we cannot replace their lives. Right. And so that we need to make sure they get out, and that lots of times their animals have their own instincts, and they will find their way out on their own, and that out in the yard you will find your dog or your cat and they found their own way out. So just think about your own life and get out. But to have a family practice that escape plan together prior to having a fire happen and then practice it together twice a year is just incredibly important. So to have that smoke alarm, know what it sounds like, have an escape plan, practice it twice a year, and so that way they have the ability to be able to have the chance to survive.
That is awesome. And what a great program. What are some other programs, I guess, that the Red Cross has? I know you guys have so many out there. We have no idea everything that you guys do. So tell us a little bit more about the disaster happens. Somebody calls, how does somebody get a hold of the Red Cross, and what can you guys do for them?
Well, the best way they get a hold of us when they've experienced a home fire is through our partnerships with the fire departments. Okay. We can't do what we do without our community partners, and so our relationships with the fire departments are absolutely critical. So when the fire department actually finds out from a family that they need help, that they're going to need assistance after they've had a fire, they dispatch to our dispatchers. And our dispatchers call volunteers. We can't do what we do without our volunteer workforce, and actually we have a 98% volunteer workforce. And so they call upon everyday citizens, highly likely to be the neighbors of the people who've been affected, people in your own county, who give up their time to be awakened at 2 a.m. to come out in the middle of the night and stand with that family on the curb and say it's going to be okay. Give them care, give them comfort, give them hope, and tell them that no matter if you have nothing on your back but your pajamas, we're going to make sure you're going to be in a safe place tonight. You're going to have money for food, for shoes, for lodging. We can help replace prescription eyeglasses, any prescription medications that were lost. So we have full health services, again, by volunteer professionals who work in the health services field. We also provide disaster mental health services, because obviously losing everything is emotionally and mentally devastating. So to have those professionals who give their time to come and help us provide disaster mental health services is incredible, because those people couldn't afford it otherwise. What we want to do is help people get back on their feet as soon as possible, so the kids can get back to school the next day, the parents can get back to work the next day, and then we can help them with long-term recovery.
So it's really helping them get back to a normalcy that they can function at. So it may not necessarily be a long-term, it could be long-term, but at least until the insurance company, they start helping out and can kick in.
We are emergency needs, so we are filling that gap in between the it just happened right now until what are we going to do long term. So we are right there in that middle part, working again with community partners on what's the long-term recovery look like. So how do we get a new apartment to rent? How do we get to a new home to rent? Or if they were already a homeowner who had insurance, again, how are we filling that gap until insurance is able to respond and come up again with what the long-term plan is.
So one other question I have for you is about carbon monoxide, because I think a lot of our fire hazards, especially during hurricane season, electricity goes out. People are still trying to cook, but they're trying to be sheltered from the weather. They don't want to be in the rain. And I think they do dumb stuff. I mean, they try to bring their grill or something inside. What are some other ways that carbon monoxide presents a danger, and some ways that we can help prevent tragedy from carbon monoxide?
Well, I think, again, we're always talking about making sure that you have a detector, so that if you're going out and looking to get a new smoke alarm, which should be replaced every 10 years, if you don't already have a carbon monoxide detector, go ahead and get one. If you've already got a smoke alarm, go ahead and get a carbon monoxide detector. But in the instance that people don't have those things already, to always just be in well-ventilated areas. If you're going to be cooking because you don't have power and you're telling people to use your little camping grills or things like that, using generators, any of these things, we're reminding people that you need to be outside, you need to be on the back porch, you need to be in well-ventilated areas. Don't be bringing things that you would normally use outside, inside. They were meant to be outside for a reason. And so we're telling people all the time to make really good decisions and to be always conscious and thinking just the way you would in non-disaster times. So again, it's about information, it's about education. So all we can be doing is constantly reminding people of making good choices.
Well, we know that you guys do so much here in our office, but I'm really glad that we had the opportunity to bring you on the show and to showcase a lot of the other things that you guys do day to day, every day. You said 3 times a day, 3 calls a day in this area, and that's unbelievable. So we certainly appreciate everything that you guys do. And if you guys would like some more information on the American Red Cross or the Red Cross Mid-Florida region, you can visit their website, and that is www.redcross.org/mid-Florida, or on Facebook, facebook.com/Red Cross Mid Florida, and twitter.com/Red Cross Mid FL.